Hello, hello, what is going on, everybody? Phoenix61 here, your host for this Skull and Bones video. We are talking Pieces of 8 tonight, so this is a sort of the end game currency, right? So you do need to progress through the majority of the storyline to kind of get introduced to Yanita Nara here, right? And so she's going to have, and there's an equivalent factory and lab over at in the East Indies as well, right? So, but this will be your first intro to it at Le Pont Muet. I'm always going to be saying things wrong, but yeah. So Yanita Nara, so she's going to be kind of your liaison for the helm, right? Like, she's kind of walks you through. There's some missions to sort of unlock aspects of earning Pieces of 8, right? One thing to note is don't ever buy these 4 materials at the top, right? Well, I'll tell you why later, because you can get those without paying for Pieces of 8, right? But there's all these cosmetic stuff in here that, you may not be too interested in at first. But to get to the tier 3 level weapons and some of the other unique ones, you need to buy the blueprints from her. And they cost Pieces of 8, 1,400, and that seems like a lot at first. But once you get going, like I said, we'll start with like, okay, where do you start with earning Pieces of 8? And then as you start approaching the end game, these numbers are way more reachable, right? Like these are way more reasonable. So there's a couple of good. I don't think I would go for these armors. At least not right away for sure, but like maybe if I had a ton. What I would do is I would get this Black Prince and you just buy it outright. You don't have to build it then. You don't need a blueprint, you just get it. So as you rank up, as you earn Pieces of 8, you're gonna earn that other currency. I of course forget what it's called. But you'll get that just as you go. So that would be that armor piece would be a good one to save up for. That would be my recommendation, right? And then the big one is the Sambuk. This is sort of, I don't know if I want to say end game ship, but like it's still a medium ship. It still competes with all the other medium ships that you could already be in right now. It's fire focused, right? So, and even the hull health, like 35,000, that's actually, a lot of people are using the snow, so the tank version of ship, and that has 50,000, so this has its drawbacks. Like there's ups and downs to all the ships. It does have 5 furniture slots, so that's nice. Some of the others have 4, but it is what it is, right? So if you're interested in going for that, that takes a little bit longer, but I'm going to show you how to earn Pieces of 8 in a more reasonable fashion than some of these other things. So the first thing you get introduced is this order registry, and I have some of the upgrades for the helm. So my Pieces of 8 earnings here, I think they start lower at like 90 or 70 or whatever for these, right? But typically they all go to the same place. But you do need to be able to, produce each of these types. You can see in the top right over here, I don't have any of this, the Black Lotus Opium, right? So I could do the other 3 if I wanted. You just always have to keep in mind, you got to start from St. Anne. Make sure you get the appropriate amount in your cargo hold, and then you can't fast travel, so you got to go from St. Anne to that location, right? The other thing to do is, and this is for, some of those unique materials I was saying, don't buy from the bartender. If you notice here, so a lot of these, the rogue hunts, and then also the order registry missions, doing those, you're going to see rogue ships that have those items. It's a chance for them to drop those items. So if you're interested in those unique crafting materials that she sells, don't buy them, do those other mission types, and you'll just get some organically, right? Then as you progress through, you'll be able to start taking over the manufactories, is what they're called, right? So all of the sort of outpost locations, you can do either the PvP takeover or the co-op event is called the Legendary Heist, right? If you don't like PvP, don't shy away from it, because once people get those locations unlocked, they won't participate in that location PvP event again. It's literally just a matter of, so just go and when you see them pop up, go and look and see. One upgrade to get for doing those takeovers is this one under the smuggler skills. It makes your takeover go up 10% faster, basically, when you sink ships. So that would be the one to get to give you a little bit of an edge for that PvP event. But honestly, most of the ones I did, like, I would, when they would show up, they show up every like 30 minutes or something. I would just look and see if anybody else was even doing it, and if no one else was doing it, I would go and do it, and it's basically just doing a plunder then. So don't shy away from those hostile takeover PvP events, right? So, because once somebody gets it, then it's done, they won't participate in that one again, right? The other thing you need to do is you need to work through the supply network stuff, and getting raw materials is huge, right? Sometimes it doesn't let me pick this last one here. But the liaison contacts are the easiest by far, because it's just a matter of going and either paying for the materials with silver, or in this case, we're just gonna basically be a pirate and kill the ship and get the materials, right? So for these roving ones, there's, at least in the current game status, this feels a little bit cheesy. So I'm gonna say this might not be like this forever. But typically what you do here is you go up to the liaison ships that are just kind of floating out there off the shore here, fairly close. And you run up, you drive up to them, interact with them, and then you trade them the silver for the raw material, right? But right now it's working where you can, and you have to go to different ships and find which ones are selling which, which are connected to which mission too, which can get kind of annoying. So I was doing it the real way for a little while, and then I was like, I wonder what happens when you kill one of these. And then, so what happens is, you can destroy literally one of them, and then it completes all the roving missions for you. You don't have to go to anywhere else. So like, it's literally, you're to see that it takes, a couple of minutes here to do these, and that's what makes me feel like there's some sort of mechanic missing, right? Either where you've betrayed the helm and it opens you up for PvP, or like there's some other negative aspect, or you'd have to get each ship, or something's missing from it right now. So take advantage of this right now. But as you can see, we killed that one ship, and it's completing all 3 of those roving contract deals, and I don't even have to find the material in the water. Like, it's just putting it in my cargo hold for me. I don't have to pick it up. Like, so something's a little off here, right? But take advantage of it. This is going to play a part in how you earn, at least for the way I'm doing it, how you earn silver as well. So when you start unlocking the manufactories from doing either the takeovers or the co-op legendary heists, you have to fund them with silver to make them produce pieces of 8, right? So this is kind of another step. It kind of all connects and works together, and that's why this video is so freaking long, right? So I also picked up so yeah, you can see them. I'm literally just gonna put them in the warehouse, right? So transfer everything over that you're not using, stuff it in the warehouse. You can, with those, the raw materials, you can fast travel all you want with those, right? So, and you can just put them in your warehouse and whatever. I also picked up ones that were, I don't know what they were called, but not roving. Basically where you just find somebody on an island, and you can fast travel to do this part too. And then you go and give them some silver for some raw materials. These weren't as much of a payout. I do have some of the helm upgrades that are giving me a little bit more of the materials. I think these start at 60 or something, and it's giving me 72, right? So it's like nothing crazy. But yeah, so we'll complete those too. I do it just because like those are quick and easy, right? Like those are the quickest and easiest ones to complete. There are other missions in there, if those aren't available. It says that those are daily when you pick them up, but honestly, they're refreshing every hour right now. So maybe that's something else in the mix between why it feels too easy. Maybe they are supposed to be daily. I don't know. So take advantage of the fact that they're hourly right now and just collect as much as you can. It's literally one of the first things I do when I sign in is I go fund my manufactories with silver, and then I go and grab these liaison, raw material missions, right? So you can see I've got gold skull rum being produced in here. So we've got a ton of it already produced because I had that going for hours before. I'm taking all of it out, right? And then the other thing too, for the production process, there are some good upgrades in here as well. So the smuggler operation upgrades, I worked my way through all of these because they were all at least somewhat beneficial. But even right off the bat, these first ones adds 10% chance to produce an additional item when refining contraband in the distillery, right? So instead of getting 1 rum per sugar, you have an extra chance to get 2 rum per sugar, right? So, and when you're doing hundreds of these at a time, like that adds up and makes a big difference, right? So as you progress through here, keep an eye on upgrades in here as well when you're going for pieces of it, because these make a difference sort of in the longer term, right? You're gonna get more out of the distillery and the laboratory, which is the equivalent over in the East Indies section of the map. And then you do need to get to that one that we were just on. I think it was like the 7th one through, where you can produce the gold skull rum. So you produce the white skull rum first, then you can produce the gold skull rum from the white skull rum, and then that like multiplies your chance, right? So going from white skull to gold skull, then you still have another chance, a 10% chance or 20% chance as you get those more upgraded to produce those additional items. So it kind of compounds, right? So the next thing you'll want to do, so this is kind of the easy way to bulk up on silver, right? So I'm going to move gold skull rum, since it's the high-end item, into my inventory. If you're selling commodities on land, that's the one kind of weird thing. Even though you're on a place where you have access to your warehouse, you need to put them into your inventory if you want to sell them to a person. And this is me literally played this game for hours and I just got lost and forgot where Skurlock is, right? But load up with gold skull rum, go to Skurlock and sell it to him, because this is going to get you just infinite amounts of silver, right? So I do have another video out there that's on earning silver, and it's basically almost the same process that I've shown you here, right? Like there's some, you know, beginning game tips there too. And he does have some items you can buy from the things that you can produce from the distillery, right? So Skurlock's Chasers, I would go for the Skurlock's Long Nines, like if you were interested in that weapon type over the Chasers. But anyway, we're going to sell our 520 gold skull rum that we were able to, put in our inventory, and that's giving us 130,000 silver, right? So silver, not a problem anymore, right? And this is important for sort of the long game of the end game, right? As you get into the end game, funding those manufactories gets expensive. Like before I was doing this whole process, I was going through here and I was like, I'm out of silver all the time because I'm trying to fund these things, right? Like, so yeah, do the hostile takeovers. Even if you're not interested in PvP, keep an eye out, because a lot of times nobody's doing them, right? Like, because if they've already done them, you know, those tough players have already done them, right? So you're going to get into a server where people have probably already done them. And even so, like, it's not that bad. A lot of times people are just trying to get kills to progress the takeover, right? Because it's not based on killing other players, it's based on just destroying stuff and sinking ships, right? So a lot of times they don't even shoot you. I think the only time they'd really want to pick on you in particular is if you're the one that's like winning, right? So I think the next thing is once you get all these, and as you get them, you can start going and collecting pieces of 8 from them, right? And then you have to bring them back to St. Anne. I've divided the map into sort of 2 sections, and this is my sort of first route is I actually depart from St. Anne, hit up that first one, then Tambry Foundry, and I go through the river, whatever you want to call this here. I'm not going to try and say half of these names, right? Just follow along the map. This is the route I've been taking once I get all of them, right? So I've divided like this top section of the map we're doing right now, and then I've divided it into like the bottom section. I have a route that I do for that too, right? So this is kind of, I just go up around here, Lamba Weaver, and then this Palisades Bay, and then back to St. Anne, right? So I do that loop to cover that section there. If you only have some of those, it may make sense to start at one of the other fast travel places and then work your way to St. Anne, right? So just keep that in mind but that's the route that I'm doing. It's working best for me. Next, I go to Fort Lewis here, and then I go outside around and I hit up these. So again, this is what I'm finding is best. So Hova, right? Then Tankazo. This is why I don't try to pronounce them, guys. Just follow where I'm going. Tanita down. That one's a little bit easier, right? And then from those, I go down and get these outside ones here. Dubois Lumberyard. La Bastade. Fortulis. Right? And then I'm getting these inside ones. Right? So it's just another loop, right? And then this one's super close to St. Anne, and then I hit up St. Anne, right? So that covers that lower section. So I'm gonna do the lower route since all of those were full, right? But like I said, like if you don't have if you don't have them all, because you're not gonna have them all, right? You literally start with 0 of them, right? So as you work your way through, pick a fast travel spot to start at, and then work your way towards St. Anne. The Brigantine is going to be the ship that you want, right? The reason for doing this part in this ship is because it's the fastest ship in the game. So if you don't have the Brigantine, work on getting the Brigantine for this part, right? So like this game is going to be one of those where you're going to have different ship types for different activities, right? And here I was like going to show my loadout for the Brigantine, and I didn't even change into that ship, right? So change into the right ship, step 1. And then, so I did have most of my furniture set for speed, right? So I'm using this, the rope blocker, because it gives you this acceleration. You're stopping and starting a lot, right? And then do whatever you have, but I would pick things that you have that involve like speed, acceleration, or just overall health or cargo, like whatever you're going for, right? I had some torpedo furniture selected in here because I was playing around with the torpedo build and I didn't like it, and I forgot to change the furniture out, because all I'm doing is, with this ship, I'm doing anything that like I need to move fast, I'm using this ship for. So, right? So we will set sail. I won't go through, I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole route, but I'll just show you kind of the start and then the end, and you can see how much, how many pieces of 8 we're sort of accumulating just from one run. And honestly, this doesn't take that long. It's like, it's like a 10-minute route for the top and a 10-minute route for the bottom. It's really not that bad, but I do think there needs to, like, there's something about it, like, I'm okay with this type of gameplay for, a little bit of grind, and also in reality, I'm usually multitasking too. Like, you'll see me picking up, loose materials and stuff too, but I could see some people getting bored with this type of gameplay, right? But I think this is like, this is going to come down to who can figure out what are good routes and what are good factories to upgrade, and because otherwise you'll spend 8 hours a day doing these supply runs, right? Like, it's just insane, right? So I think it's going to be a balance of how much you're willing to actually do it and then finding like a good route, right? And then upgrade the manufactories that are on that route, right? So whatever time investment, have a balance somewhere, guys, right? Because otherwise it's just going to get insane. But so we'll pick up our first one here, and then yes, once you're carrying pieces of 8, you can't fast travel anymore, right? So if you want to keep these things, you gotta go to St. Anne, right? So, but I'm gonna do my whole route to get, basically half of the Red Isle, right? So of the manufactories, and I have them upgraded. Like, I want to say, like, a lot of them are around level 5, I think. And you're gonna get attacked by rogues. I'm starting to see a pattern here where, like, I kind of see rogues almost in the same place every time I do the route. So you'll get used to that. One trick here is to try not to hit anybody but the rogues. You're going to see me, and whoop, that bullet went right through, and now I'm hostile to that faction. And so now I can't pick up my pieces of 8 from that factory, right? So we have to, like, the best way to go unhostile is get rid of the ships that are spotting you, that are linked to that faction, right? So you can see them here. So I'm going to try and get rid of this guy, and then the other one too is kind of, spotting me and keeping me on their naughty list, right? So, and of course, yeah, we ran into that one. So And there's this guy over here. Let's get rid of him. So just, this is my strategy if you accidentally piss off the faction that you're trying to collect from. Like, just move away, kill anybody that's out there that's associated with that faction, and then in the top right you can see it starting to flash, so that means it's going away, right? So I'm already turning around because I can see it going away. Sometimes there's like towers out here that are spotting you, and it's really freaking annoying. So occasionally I've just been like, screw it, and I just move to the next one. So you do you, whatever kind of patience you have for it, right? Ideally, you just don't shoot the town like I did, right? That's the best strategy, right? So just something to keep in mind, because those rogues pop up and they can be, they're almost more annoying because they trigger me to shoot the faction ships or town or a tower more so than it is to just kill them. Like, they're not as big of a problem as much as it's just like, that just made collecting from here that much more time consuming versus if I only had to kill that one ship and didn't have to drive away, right? So, and of course in classic Skull and Bones fashion, we are going right into the wind. So I'm trying to weave. It's only working so much, right? So yeah, just something to keep in mind when you're dealing with those rogues, right? But yeah, like I said, I'm using this as sort of a multitask session, right? Like, I'll pick up loose stuff. I typically don't do like harvest, like I won't harvest wood or fruit or whatever is along the shorelines. I'll just do the ones that are floating because you just tap it. You can keep moving, it doesn't slow you down, right? So, so yeah, we finally got the pieces of 8 there. We'll go in, grab one more here from this, this last factory here, and then I'll fast forward the video a little bit, right? So we can see where we end up and sort of what we're collecting. But like I said, like, this is already, we're already, you know, a third of the way through this route, so it really doesn't take that long. I was just trying to keep the video from being 50 minutes, you know. Like, but yeah, there's just so much, there's so much to cover in like you know, in a short amount of time. I tried to make the video not crazy long, right? But the other thing too, so you're always gonna have these faction ships in here. They're always all over the place, and they're always going to seem like they're in the most annoying position, right? So we'll collect from this one. Sometimes if you lightly bump into them, they don't care, and you can see we do it here. So see, he's got the question mark there. Those extra like symbols and stuff on the display, those are in the options menu, so go and look for that. But you can see, like, you can set it so you can see status effects that are happening to enemy ships and stuff too, and that can be like super helpful, right? So that's why if you don't see those icons on yours, it's because it's off by default. Go play around in the settings and find it. I'll probably do a video on that one. So this one we got 300 from, right? So so I still have, and what was that? That one's a 6, right? So I still have these last what, 6 to do. So I'm skipping ahead. If you get the helm wager, don't do it. So it's very tempting because it doubles your pieces of 8. But in all honesty, I stopped doing this for 2 reasons. One is it's going to put you, you're going to have to go to a different place other than St. Anne, and it's going to be far away. So there's more time consumption happening there. But also, I've run into too many people where they're in a group. So if you're playing this game solo, you're going to get teamed up on. Like, literally the last time I did it, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a whirl. It's going to be fun, right? And it was very obvious. There was 2, you know, they killed me. There was like 4 people that joined. They killed me. Like, fine, that was my risk, right? But then I see 2 of them going away, and they're shooting back at me as I'm trying to catch back up. Both of them are shooting me, whereas, you know, one of them should have been trying to shoot the guy that jacked the chest of 8s, right? So I don't do the wager anymore. There needs to be some balancing changes there, by my personal opinion, right? This one is annoying because you have to get super close to it, but I've ranked this one up a little bit more because it's literally right next to St. Anne. So if you're not in a mood to do the whole route, you could just go and get these close ones, right? So that's why I kind of prioritize ranking up the ones that are close to St. Anne first. You could make an argument for ones that have a lot of trade routes connected to them. That would be, because those are going to produce pieces of 8 faster. So you could make an argument for upgrading those first. and you can see the trade route connections on the map, right? But so just, yeah, more stuff to just kind of keep in mind, you know, based on how much time you're willing to devote to this portion of the game to earn pieces of 8, right? The other thing too is, like, it costs pieces of 8 to upgrade the factories, right? So yeah, so that was a 1,720 pieces of 8 we got from that run, which in reality was maybe 10 minutes at most, right? So that's not bad. And then once you get those upgraded more, I think they go up to like 10, and you get thousands per location, right? So it gets exponentially easier and faster to do this pretty quickly. I mean, it's an end game thing, right? So there's a lot of it's a grind still, right? But once the grinding hurts the most in the beginning, and then it feels like it gets better, right? So, but yeah, those trade routes help a little bit, and then yeah, like I upgrade these. So this one, to get it to 7 costs 2,000. This one to get it up to 6 costs 1,000, right? And you can see the storage size goes up and the production per hour goes up too, right? So there's a balance in there between, you know, you may have something you want to buy versus upgrading the manufacturers to be able to earn quicker, right? So to unlock the other areas, it's 5,000 pieces of 8, and I think a lot of people are tempted to grab the East Indies because because it has the other you know, like home base in there, right? But as you can see in between, there's no trade routes in between the East Indies and the Red Isle, right? But here, there are trade routes between Africa and, you know, the coast of Africa and the Red Isle, right, where St. Anne is, right? So I think if you really wanted high production factories, you would maybe do the coast of Africa first, right? So that's my plan, you know. But again, you still got to do these long haul drives, right? But I would think, like, look at how many connections there are for, you know, trade routes there are for some of these. So these ones right along the coast, I think you could fast travel to this bottom fast travel spot in the bottom left here, and then just drive up, you know, sail up the coast and hit up these factories, right? So I think long term, you know, once you really get going with this, I think that's going to be my strategy, is to basically just change, you know, have another route where I drive up the coast here and just hit up these ones that are along the coast that have all these trade route connections, right? And then maybe go back, you know, through here and then hit up the top of this, you know, these ones up here, and then head back into St. Anne, right? So something for the future, right? So as you get even further, and then of course, you know, the East Indies is going to be a whole nother thing, but it's really, you know, how much time do you want to spend doing that activity, right? I think a lot of people are going to get sick of just sailing around, right? So, but that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody that's following. So yeah, please do subscribe to the channel. I do plan on doing some more Skull and Bones videos, as well as we do play a few other games, right? But yeah, so we will see you next time, and thanks a lot.